So this video is from Fox Business one day ago. It's about the Social Security database and how they're like paying 200-year-old people that don't exist or whatever.
DOGE is on the move.
So let's
up
check it out.
next at the IRS and our gold reserves.
I've been trying to go down and see the gold and make sure it's all there for about 10 years. I think the more sunlight, the better, more transparency, the better.
With DOGE continuing
Talking
its
about the
search for
gold in
wasteful spending,
Fort Knox
Democrats
that nobody's
insist on
seen.
putting up roadblocks. Senator Elizabeth Warren tweeting this. Good news. After we raised the alarm, DOGE has been blocked from accessing sensitive Department of Education data. Your Social Security number, income data, and personal information are safe for...
This is all shit the IRS has. Like, I don't know why they make such a big deal about like Social Security numbers. Like, the Marine Corps was basically throwing my Social Security number around to everybody. It is not that serious. The IRS has all this information. The DMV has all this information. I don't know why they're acting like this is something new. Hell, when you sign up for certain places, you have to give them your Social Security number. Like, I don't know why. This is all just an attack on all of DOGE and what Elon Musk is doing and how they're trying to cover up their own corruption. My own personal belief, at least.
For now, we will keep fighting back. But Utah Senator Mike Lee just was not having it. He responded, you literally passed a law giving IRS visibility into Venmo payments, and now you're all about privacy, but only for DOGE because it's trying to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer funds. And are the vampires living amongst us? Because
it's like it's Elizabeth Warren piping up. Like, you only ever hear about that stupid bitch when something bad's going on. We know what's going on. You're just like trying to hide the fact that you've been stealing money from the U.S. taxpayers for a long time. Like, it's nothing new.
Elon Musk taking a peek into Social Security. Apparently, over 20 million recipients are listed as being above the age of 100. With one being listed between the ages of 360 and 369 years old. I would like to eat what that person is eating. Now, a judge is ordering an extension on the temporary block of Musk's access to the Government Efficiency Department. I guess musician Sheryl Crow would be happy with all of these roadblocks because the Grammy winner, she sold her Tesla. She donated the money to NPR in protest of Elon.
You still paid them regardless. So I don't know why you're acting like this is some big move against Elon Musk. Like, you already bought the car, stupid bitch.
On Musk, I'm sure that's the best use of her money. Welcome to the second hour of the Big Money Show. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, and
what a privileged thing to do anyways, sell your car. Like, anybody else has that fucking option as an everyday citizen who can't afford groceries.
Joined by my co-hosts, Taylor Riggs, Dagan McDowell, Jeff Flock, in for Brian Brunberg, and O'Leary Ventures Chairman Kevin O'Leary is sticking around for another jam-packed hour. We're going to begin on Capitol Hill with the latest DOGE moves. Hillary Vaughn has them for us. Hi, Hillary.
Hi, Jackie. Well, there is a concern that DOGE is getting access to sensitive information at the IRS, but this is something that people at the IRS have access to every single day to do their job. So the people who are protesting are really mad that DOGE is the one who's getting to look under the hood. The White House has insisted that anyone viewing anything sensitive.
The left has done like a really good job at demonizing Elon Musk and everything that he's done so far. And I feel like that's why everyone's actually concerned, is because of the fear-mongering. It's not like because he actually has access to this information. It's all the bullshit that the media has spewed for years.
Or classified or private has the clearance and appropriate approval to do so. A White House official says that direct access to what's called the Integrated Data Retrieval System, which includes visual access to taxpayer accounts, is needed to audit the IRS, something the IRS workers do every day to Americans. The IRS is also not immune from downsizing. AP reports they will lay off thousands of IRS workers who have been in the probation period of their employment, with cuts happening as soon as next week.
People work very hard to pay their taxes every single day. They're hurting. They see wasteful government spending. We need to have government in the sunshine. We need to have spending in the sunshine.
In addition to finding fraud, DOGE is discovering lost taxpayer cash. DOGE helping the Department of Housing and Urban Development relocate $1.9 billion that had gone missing under Biden. That's nearly $2 billion that they say the Treasury can now use for other things. DOGE has also been digging into Social Security. Elon Musk estimating there are about 60 million more Social Security numbers issued than there are Americans, saying, quote, there are far more eligible Social Security numbers than there are citizens in the USA. This might be the biggest fraud in history, but Democrats say DOGE
crazy.
is exaggerating all this fraud they're finding.
These are by and large performative theatric measures. They'll pick these one-off cases and they'll say this is broad policy. This is what an entire department or agency does or represents, and it's just not true.
Musk also found that there's over 4 million people in the Social Security database who have an age over.
I mean, I get there'd be some mistakes that slip through the cracks, but like you look at these numbers, this is ridiculous. You can't possibly tell me that millions of people slip through the cracks like that. It's clearly evidence of fraud.
140 years old. The oldest person alive right now in the world is 116 years old. So this is either a smoking gun for fraud, or as Elon Musk joked, vampires could be real. Jackie?
They just might be. Hillary Vaughn, thank you so much. Meantime, there's more money set to come back to taxpayers across this country, but how soon until the left starts screaming about the D.C. housing market and unemployment numbers that are spiking? The median home value dropped 20% since November, and unemployment in D.C. for the week ending February 8th. The jobless filings were up 36% from the week prior. One more thing I thought was really interesting. The Kobayashi letter says 8,000 homes were listed for sale in Washington, D.C. and the metro area. Almost half of them have been put on the market in the last 30 days alone. So while the Democrats are melting down and they can keep crying and cursing and holding rallies, but as Charles Payne said in the previous hour, they're not listening. You've also got a swamp that's being drained, and these numbers are evidence of that. You're new in this hour, Jeff. What's your reaction?
Well,
I mean, that's a good thing in my opinion, because like looking at the housing market at my age, everything seems way too expensive and unattainable. So the housing market is going down. That's a good thing. Granted, it's only in D.C. and nobody wants to live in D.C. because it's expensive anyways, but
kind of an indication about how things have changed. You know, I'm old enough to remember something called the Golden Fleece Award, which a Democrat senator from Wisconsin named William Proxmire started in 1975. And each month he would give an award to a government agency that was wasting our money. This went on for years. It was the Democrats that were doing this. And now I guess it's a couple of generations later, right? Now it's the Republicans that are taking the lead on it. And, you know, I think arguably our government could have used a little bit of a shake-up. I don't know, you don't want to shake it too hard, but a shake-up. Yeah, oh, you do. Oh, I know. Dagan wants to.
Yes. I want to, well, Kevin, shake it until it doesn't feel good.
I remember the Fleece Awards. However, they didn't have social media in those days.
Right.
And so the message didn't get out as quickly as it's getting now, because it was always the bottom of the story of the day. I remember that award.
Yeah.
But this is good stuff going on. I don't know why anybody would think it isn't. And it hasn't ever been done. And I think it's a wonderful idea that this money stays in the economy instead of being wasted, because it would make the whole country more productive. And that's really why everybody, I would bet you 7 out of 10 people on the street.
And if we look at the history of like all the people that Elon Musk has fired when he bought Twitter, it's all people that are unneeded. It's like jobs that anybody else could have been doing the whole time is a waste. And I believe it's a good thing to be cutting down the government jobs like that. Costs us way too much money to run the government. I think $80 billion lasts us 2 weeks. So,
like what's going on this cost-cutting stuff. And every day it's getting more interesting, because they read the crazy stories. And they say, that's my money. You know, I have $68,000 average salary, and I'm watching this. This is working. It's really interesting to watch it work.
In honor of Kevin O'Leary, because I know he's all about permitting reform. I think, Jackie, for me, DOGE goes a little bit step deeper. I think I love cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, cutting the money, slashing jobs.
Yeah,
but
everyone should love that.
I think the next layer is going to have to be government working around red tape, because we all remember, and this is from the New York Times this morning, where they say passing a law is all great, but then you have companies are involved, agencies,
I will say I was trying to get a networking IT job from the government, and that's on hold right now because I live in the middle of Kentucky. There's no way I can get one of those jobs out here, especially right now with the hiring freeze. And my buddy, who's been working for the government for the past 2 years, he's at risk for losing his job. It's just not a good time for the job market if you're trying to get into government. But other than that, it's great.
applying for permits. How do you meet regulatory standards for construction?
I'm waiting for all
blah,
this to be
blah.
done. I might be able to get
It could
something.
be months or years before actual building of, let's say, a home or a new factory can actually start. You guys all remember more than 2 years after Congress enacted the $5 billion EV charging stations, there's just two, Ohio and New York, that have actually opened any. And in 3 years, only a number, dozens, have actually opened. That's well below the hundreds that they promised us. So I love DOGE and the cost cutting, but I also eventually want to see how do we deal with the red tape, keeping things safe with the permitting, but cutting the crap that takes years and years to go through to get anything done.
That $5 billion program specifically ran through the Department of Transportation, called the NEVI program. Only about less than $700 million was sent out to the states. Sean Duffy sent out a memo saying we're putting a stop to this, so no more money goes out, and that any approvals that the states had submitted to the Department of Transportation, he has put the kibosh on them and said whatever approvals you submitted, we're putting pause on that. But you will hear, for example, Senator Tim Kaine talking about this is a war on veterans and the VA is slashing jobs. Be very careful.
Listen, the VA fucking sucks anyways, bro. I took my records in there 5 years ago, and they said, come back in an hour and we'll have it done. I went up there 45 minutes later for them to, put my records into the system and everything, and they said that I never brought them my records, and they couldn't find anything on it. So, you know what? Fuck the VA. I haven't got anything done anyways. I'm just now starting the process finally with I got my records back. So, yeah, fuck them.
Because
I feel like a lot of people working there shouldn't be there, is what I mean by that.
caterwauling and the shrieking, particularly by lawmakers who live in the kind of greater D.C. area, Charlie Hurt said this Friday, they're very concerned about those constituents losing their lunch money, so to speak, because 1,000 jobs, probationary jobs, were eliminated last week at the VA. That is 0.2% of the VA's 450,000 people who work there. And it is only 2% of the total probationary number of employees. This every bureaucrat is sacred is absolute hog manure. And that is how we got into this situation that we're in now, where we have government so bloated and dysfunctional that it's just a complete waste of not only time, but our hard-earned money.
Absolutely. And I really think that people, we've said this time and time again, they voted for this. But the thing is, how do you keep it going? How do we ensure that after Donald Trump, even if he wins the court battles and even if Elon Musk is successful in what he's doing, that this becomes, a lasting part of American?
I don't think you can, because when Joe Biden got in office, he spent the first week trying to undo everything he could that Trump did in his first term. So I'm worried about what's going to happen afterwards when we get somebody new in. But I think we're on such a trend right now in America that shows we want this, that they won't be able to do that. I don't know. Especially if they're worried about winning a second term. I don't think they could just undo all of this.
Culture, I would call it.
I was thinking about that very thing. How do you make it function? How do you make it function after you right-size it?
I think it goes into the DNA of the electorate, and so they ask each party every time there's an election cycle, whether it be midterm or presidential election, what are you going to do for me on DOGE? What are you going to do for me to keep cutting? What are you going to show me that you stay productive? How are you going to make it even better? Because there's always fat on the chicken. There's always fat. And you can keep cutting all the time. I think it's a productivity tool that comes into the electorate forever. It's a very cool thing that's going on here. I think the outcome of this could be Trump's biggest legacy, that he let this happen. Because whether you like him or you don't, no one's ever done this before.
And I just, to insert and be a skunk at the garden party here, say that.
I think we're in the initial teardown phase, though, and nothing's really going to be like big happening until after all the cutting is done. Like, we can't implement anything new for a while. But I think DOGE overall, after it gets the initial cutting down, if it was just there to monitor everything and make sure that there's no more bloat, it could be very useful in the future. But we'll have to see how it plays out.
That you got to do it.
Elon's only on
carefully.
for the initial cutting, I think, as well.
Machete for a lot of this is important, because if you screw it up somehow and something does go wrong, like they fired some guys at the agency that controls the nuclear stockpile. They realized, whoa, wait a minute, that we better not do that, and they brought them back. Do it carefully so that it's successful and it doesn't screw something up that jeopardizes the agenda going.
Probationary employees, because probationary employees don't have the civil service protections at this point.
Right.
So it's probationary employees, it's last hired, first fired, which these civil service protections essentially force anybody who wants to cut the chicken fat to do. And as Jackie Heinrich pointed out, HHS let 3,600 probationary employees go last week, but 4,000 were retained in areas like science research.
That's what I'm saying. Just, get it right.
I just go back to Elon Musk in the Oval Office from last week when he talked about, listen, we are going to make mistakes. We're being transparent about it. We have checks and balances internally where, the president's overseeing what they're doing and they're watching each other as well. And I appreciated that because it was honest. It was like, we're humans. Yes. We're trying to do something here. It's never been done before. We will mess up, but we'll be honest about it and we'll fix it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This should get more support because cutting spending for the government and cutting down the deficit will help overall. And the only people that are arguing against it, I feel, have some sort of they're getting money from it. There's no other way to explain why you would be upset about this. But yeah, that's what I think about it.